Welcome to It's Personal, Finance Canada. I'm Christine Conway.
And I'm Cameron Conway.
And this podcast is a very personal look at personal finance in Canada. Welcome to It's Personal Finance Canada. I'm Christine Conway here with Cameron Conway. And if you're in BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, or the Yukon, and you need help with your financial planning, investment, or insurance needs, feel free to find us at braunfinancial.com. So this week, we want to talk to you about popular advice that can get people in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, so last week was Christine spent too much time on Instagram, and now this week is Christine knows better than a lot of other people.
No, not at all. Christine spends too much time reading personal finance books. And there's a lot of good, well-meaning advice out there that goes a little bit sour when it's so hard as a guru, I suppose. I wouldn't know, but I suppose when you're trying to paint with one brush a whole swath of the population, right? And there are so many scenarios where what's good for one person is actually terrible advice for someone else. So today we just wanted to identify some of those things for you so you don't get caught in some of that.
Yeah, and it gets a little behind the scenes thing. It's that kind of thought that Christine has about how other people write things that may or may not work. It was actually like one of the two big reasons we started this podcast in the first place, because we were just tired of seeing it.
Absolutely. You know, the number of times that people come to our office with some stuff that they've heard from somewhere else and the amount of time that you have to kind of spend re-educating people. We thought we would do this for free for everyone on the show. Learn as much as you can. Get yourself as set up as you can. And if you do need help with a professional, of course, we're able and willing to serve the people that are in the provinces that we're licensed in. So let's jump into the first misconception that I think gets people a little bit tripped up. And this is the good advice to pay off your debt. But where it gets a little bit bad is it's this concept of paying off all your debt first before you take on anything else requiring your money.
Yeah, so this is kind of the old adage. I'm sure you know who we're referencing, but yeah, it's the idea that you should take every single dollar and cent available and just throw it all towards your debt, because all debt is evil and will destroy you and bring you to the deep darkness below where you'll never be able to afford coffee again.
That's right. And, you know, coffee is not as bad as they say. And the ability to kill your own lifestyle doing this, oh man, that's not what we're really going to get at today. But it's this idea that some people take this to the extreme in the sense where they start to color all debt with the same shade of gray or black or red, I suppose. Red would be the right color for this. But not all debt is bad. So debt can be a great leverage to create wealth. I mean, if you own your home, you have a mortgage, that's allowing you an incredible standard of living, being able to leverage time and make payments. And of course, the banks win a little bit, right? But they're allowing you to build equity over time.
Well, that is, unless you just constantly renegotiate and re-amortize, then you're just stuck in that cycle forever. So don't get caught.
That's a problem and a podcast for another day.
We've done it a couple times already.
Yeah, it's one of my big pet peeves. But what we want to talk about today is that debt can be good. Some debt can be good. And the way that we evaluate if debt is good or not is we look at the asset that it's tied to. If you used it to just buy stuff that you've consumed, that's why we call it consumer debt, like that pizza that you bought or, you know, that nice new outfit that you put on your credit card. None of that is building long-term worth for you over time. It's not increasing your net worth. So when we look at debt, we ask ourselves the questions, did it increase or will it increase my net worth over time? So a depreciable asset, well, it can be fun to have, fun to drive, or fun to otherwise consume, still can decrease net worth over time based on, of course, the way these things are depreciated. So we're trying to use our debt intentionally to make sure that what you use it for leaves you with something to show for and not nothing to show for at the end.
Yeah, it's seeing, is this debt a net benefit to you? So like even like on the corporate side, like we've done some debt just to like buy some blocks of business from retiring agents. We've used our debt to get a house and get ahead. But yeah, you have to be careful when it comes to that consumer debt, which is like the impulse spending, or you try and play the points game and forget to pay your monthly minimum, get hit with extra charges. Or then some people will try and play the ever risky taking debt to invest game and mistime the market.
Yeah, and that's not something that I'm particularly in love with as a strategy, especially in volatile times like this. But every person has different risk profiles, different reasons. We just, as a style, tend to avoid it.
But when line doesn't go up anymore, you're supposed to take all the equity out of your house and start shorting things. You don't know what shorting means. You're just supposed to short it, right?
Well, and you know what? It's really, really funny because last year I had read an article by Jamie Gollenbeck, who's a very prominent tax expert, who had basically got some information about how the CRA is now treating capital gains and the increase that people can get from borrowed money, and it's not as favorable as it had been in the past. So that actually increases the propensity for audits down the road. So another reason that this could go out of style very quickly.
Yeah, and I think they've also been closing the loopholes on people trying to use the interest charges on investments. So you take money out of a HELOC and the people are trying to write off the interest charge as a business expense when it was personal. So a lot of those loopholes are being closed up. So more reason just to try and do this rationally rather than impulsively.
Well, I think that's it. I think as soon as enough people get on a bandwagon, the CRA is going to take a closer look at it, right? And I think that is kind of the case of what's happening here.
Yes, there's a CRA office in every province. They're watching for bandwagons going up and down the street every single day. Beware where your CRA office is. They're probably looking out the window right now.
Well, let's look. That's why we're recording this in the basement, so they can't look in our window. But
yes, our CRA office is across the river. They can't see us right now.
That's right. So let's take a look at why people are in debt in the meantime. So if consumer debt, which is bad debt, is the problem, was it an emergency? Was it something unexpected that went wrong? And I mean, let's be honest. I mean, for Cam and I, for a number of my close friends, people that I've known, this is the norm. The more people I talk to, we all have to build in these reserves and these points where expect the unexpected, right? Something will come at us that we did not intend that is going to cost us money. So I think the longer you've been running a budget, the longer you've been running a household or a business or anything of the like, the more you realize that you have to predict the unpredictable as best as you possibly can. And because you don't know what it is that's going to break or what's going to go wrong or what the timing is, you have to look at just having enough cash to handle whatever it may be. So Cam and I have a number in our minds and in our budgets where we're basically, if we have 10 grand, we can fix most problems. And there you go. We have a ballpark for a short-term emergency fund. And of course, longer-term emergency funds might be done a little bit differently. But in terms of liquid accessible savings, that can still be earning interest. It's so important to make sure that you have had that thought out, that life does just happen. Now, there is the other category of people that have been using their credit cards as an extension of lifestyle. And we do this because it feels good, right? Like we want to match the people in our neighborhoods. We don't want to be the odd one out, or we don't want our kids to be the odd ones out that don't have the nice clothes, the nice shoes, the new backpack when they're going through their school year, the best programs that they're in. And it's so easy to whip out the Visa or the MasterCard or whatever your debt of choice is and extend your ability to live beyond your means.
Yeah, this is what happens like when you have like your main Visa or MasterCard maxed out and you need to pay for it. So then you use your PC credit card to pay for that and you use your Canadian Tire credit card to pay for that. And then at the last second, you try and roll everything into your Hudson's Bay credit card, hoping it just magically disappears.
Oh, no. Never trust your Hudson's Bay credit card at this point in the game.
They will sell off the debt. You're still on the hook.
That's funny. But no, this strategy, I mean, geez, Cam, that is a perfect sign that you're in trouble, right? If you're using debt to pay off debt to pay off debt. Oh, man. And it's not a one-time thing to reduce your interest charge. Like sometimes people will negotiate a lower rate or change card to get a better offering or lower fees or whatever it might be. If it's just a juggling act, that is a circus I don't want to be a part of. Like that should be an indication that there is change needed. So the best way is to address lifestyle and to address where the actual money is going and how it's being allocated and what are the areas in our lives that have this propensity, this need that we feel to spend more. And like I said, maybe our weakness is our kids. Maybe our weakness is a particular kind of entertainment or a particular place or restaurant that we like to go to, but identifying it is an excellent starting point.
Yeah, and this kind of strategy to just pay off debt with debt is kind of part of a bigger problem where people just get trapped thinking that they have to have this certain lifestyle. They have to project this certain way of how they appear to other people. And some people tend to get caught up. They'll think, oh, I have X amount of income. I'm doing well, but they could be working 2 to 3 jobs to make that income. So you kind of have this push and pull between the time you're putting in to get that income and sort of the enjoyment of life in general, and just what is the true price you are paying to kind of maintain that lifestyle with could be one very long day job or multiple ones just to kind of hit that standard, but you're sacrificing more than you probably realize.
Well, and what is the likelihood that this is sustainable over time, right? If you are running multiple jobs to keep up a standard of living, how long can you physically, mentally do that before it starts taking a toll on some area of your life, whether it's health, mental health, family? Anytime you overcommit to any one area, another area is going to suffer, right? Because it's always this give and take, this push and pull. So it's figuring out the priorities versus, of course, the need to keep a roof over your head and keep sustainable income coming in. So like Cam alluded to, and like we've talked about in different episodes during this podcast, where sometimes the evaluation of career choice and amount of income you can actually make during a regular standard work week is really, really important for a lot of people. But to circle back to kind of the popular guru who got my attention, he had taken this stance that you should opt out even of employer matched retirement plans until your debt is repaid. And this, I can't even say it. Like it won't even come out of my mouth. This is crazy to me because when there's a match, this is part of your negotiated compensation. And when you're leaving money on the table, you are saying, you know what? I don't actually want this portion of my salary. Please keep it, use it to enhance your profits, employer. And I'm sure a lot of companies love, and I'm sure the reason that these programs are optional is because of the amount of money that just isn't allocated, because people either don't take advantage of the plan, don't understand it, and don't want to feel stupid by asking, or they just defer it to a later date, and then they've missed months and months and months and sometimes years of potential compensation. And like I said, if you think about it as something that you agreed and they agreed to pay you when you negotiated your compensation package, don't leave money on the table. But when this guru said something like, debt first above all, stop everything until you have paid off your debt, I can't. I mean, that to me, it's irresponsible. And because we don't know at what age you're starting this, retirement savings is something that should never, ever, ever be deferred. And going back to those match programs, the people with the lowest income need these the most, right? So if you find yourself in debt because your income is on the lower side of the scale, you need as much benefit as you can possibly get. So it hurts you over the long term. It hurts everyone over the long term.
Yeah, part of the problem is when a lot of these books are written and a lot of this advice is crafted, it's made to fit like a very, very niche and narrow subset of people it could benefit. Like you read a book and like, oh, this strategy was successful for this person, but it doesn't mention the thousands of people it failed for. Or it could work like you are 30 years old, married, own your house already, have $100,000 of savings already. Then this program will work perfectly for you. So it's easy to write a book kind of like on generalities, but in the world we live in, we have to be ultra specific. So this is where our frustration starts to really creep up and jump through the ceiling and all that.
So I am a big fan of consumer debt repayment first. Any debt that is not growing your net worth over time, let's get rid of it as quickly as possible. But while we're getting rid of it, we still need to save for our retirement, because the biggest benefit to you when you're saving for your retirement is time. Time in the market, time letting your investments compound, time letting something other than you, aka the markets, do that heavy lifting for you, where just by virtue of being in the game, you're getting increases. And the more time you have, the better. Other things that I think you should still be paying for while you have debt are things that could put you in a worse financial position if you don't have them. And by that, I mean your insurance. Now, that could be everything from housing insurance, tenants insurance, critical illness insurance, disability, life insurance, anything that will protect a major asset. And that major asset can be you. It can be your ability to earn an income, but it could also be your home or your contents of your home. It can be something, anything that could put you behind if you have to replace it.
Yeah, this really falls on you because as dark and as blunt as this sounds, no one cares about you. Your boss wants you to work for free. The bank never wants you to pay off your debts. They can make interest charges forever. So this is where you have to take your own responsibility and your own agency to really take care of yourself.
I wouldn't go that dark with it, but I would say that the best way to take care of the people you love, the best way to protect yourself and your own family is to look out for yourself. And the best and easiest way to do this is to defer certain risks that you can defer by simply paying a low monthly premium. And because of the randomness of this life, because we don't know when the bad times are coming, like I said, it's the most cost-effective and cheap ways versus sometimes people will try and lump sum save, right? And then they've got this whole risk period in the meantime where they are accumulating their own sink fund or their own pool of money to be able to spend on this risk, but they're leaving themselves wide open during that period of time that it will take to accumulate that money. So I think we've beat this one up enough. Let's move on to the next big thing that is so well intended, helps a lot of people, but just doesn't quite hit the mark for me.
Yeah, so a big surprise. The next big thing to talk about is the save 10% myth. Again, this is just a magic number that looks good in a book or a quote, or is just easy to remember because people just like round numbers apparently.
Well, actually, conceptually, so as a concept, I love this. I love 10% in the sense that it gives the impact and the impression to the reader or to the person hearing this advice that you do need to save a good percentage of your income for a point of time in the future, right? And I think that when people are of the mentality of, I'll just save whatever I have left, they miss that. So having something like this as a benchmark is a fantastic starting point, but the problem becomes that 10% is not the right number for everybody.
Yeah, 10% could be good when you're 25, but you come to our office and you're 55, 10% will not cut it. It'd be like 30 or 40% for some people.
Yeah, so the way that I like to explain it and the way that I look at it myself is think about it in terms of your age now. So your age when you're really going to start saving. Or if you have been saving for a number of years, but you've assessed that it's not quite enough, let's look at it as starting today.
So if you want an overly generalized number, how about this? How about it's 10% at 20 and then just add 10% for every 10 years?
No. That is not at all how it works.
But I can write books. It's so general.
Oh my goodness. No, what we want to do is we want to look at how much of the heavy lifting has to be done by you versus someone else. And let me explain. So the first factor is your age. How much time to retirement do you have? The second factor is how much is someone else doing for you? So that could be a group pension plan. It could be a defined benefit pension plan. It could be rich parents or government benefits. How much am I funding myself? And how much is someone else funding? And if you think of that as a scale, time versus the amount that you have to do versus the amount of someone else doing it for you, that gives you a much clearer idea of how much saving you're going to do and what your savings rate is going to need to be. Because like Cam said, if you haven't looked at this until you're 45 or 50 and you've been saving maybe $100 or $200 every month, since your 30s or something like that, but you look at that and you look at how much you spend each month and you decide, I could be in a bit of trouble here. It's just owning to the fact that you will be responsible for the difference. So this again goes back to that point of building a lifestyle that can fit this in for you. How is the easiest way to save for retirement? Well, it's putting it in your budget, right? Like a lot of people will basically say, I can save whatever's left at the end of the month. And if someone does that, what do you think's going to happen, Cam?
Oh, there's never anything at the end of the month.
There is never anything left at the end of the month.
So a lot of people have tried very hard to make sure there isn't, or even subconsciously you just realize, oh no, there's nothing left again.
Well, but see point number one, right? See our propensity to spend, see our propensity to look at our bank account. And when it's positive, we want to spend even more. So there's two ways that people do this. It's either with intention or you get stuck in this default mode where it defers to a later date. So an intentional way to look at this is to make it a non-negotiable line item on your budget.
And it needs to be like a top line item, not something that you may do or may not do. It's kind of the bottom. No, this has to be like right up there with like your mortgage or your rent and stuff like that.
Pay yourself first. Brilliant concept. Very well said. Very easy to execute.
Well, we pay ourselves first, but we own a business. That's a little different.
It's not exactly what we're talking about. But yes, in the same way that you pay for your home or you pay to live in a home or you pay your utilities, you pay for these services, you have to pay your future self to give you the ability to continue to pay for these things. So that's why it has to be like a bill, like something that you are expecting to see every month that you now need to allocate resources to. And like I said, the percentage of your income that is going to be is dependent on when you start, how much you've accumulated now, and what everyone else is doing for you. And if you need help with that, please find a certified financial planner. You can find us if you're in one of the provinces that we're licensed in as well. But this concept is so important. And when you think about it in terms of someone's desire to maintain their consistent standard of living over a lifetime, like, let's talk about it in the sense that you're not going to want to change the way you live materially, right? That's why that adage of like 70% of pre-retirement income that a lot of planners will use doesn't really cut it for most people, because unless there are costs that are going to go away naturally with your job, most people don't want to functionally change the way that they're living all that much.
But even our own practice, even with a lot of research we've been noticing that less and less people are willing to kind of cut their standard of living. They got used to a certain income coming in during their working years. Now they're retired. They don't really want that to go down, because all of a sudden, I want to go out and do all the things I couldn't do when I was working. I want to buy this, buy that, travel here, do this, eat that. And they just don't want to pull back the spending, because this is now the time where the floodgates are supposed to open and I can just go do whatever I want because there's no boss to tell me no.
Well, and another thing to consider, and this correlates to your time in the market and your risk profile, of course. But when we're talking in terms of the heavy lifting and how much you're going to have to do, the market does some of the heavy lifting for you when you're invested. So if you're investing a good chunk of your take-home pay, that is fantastic in that is going to compound for the period of time that you have. And don't think of retirement as a hard end. So if I'm retiring at 65, that doesn't mean that my investments are suddenly going to stop growing for me at 65. They're going to grow as long as they're actively invested in the market.
And nothing bad happens to the market.
And, well, subject to the market being the market, right? Like they're going to go up, they're going to go down. There are strategies that we use to address market risk all the time, especially in volatile times like these. But the point is, it doesn't end when you turn 65. It just changes because now you're having to draw down, you're having to decumulate. But the longer that you have in the market, like I am a huge advocate of time in the market, and I am a huge advocate of big chunks of your income that lower your standard of living naturally, right? So now in your retirement, you're used to living on less because you've been saving 10%, 15%, 20%. Now you really only need 80% of your income because that savings no longer has to be there. But the material point is that big of a chunk of your salary that's now invested for you, it's going to be able to do wonders for you over time. And when you're looking at how big of a job it is to fund 20, 30, 40 plus years of life, depending on when you retire and what your standard of living and lifestyle will be, you need that extra help. You need a partner like the market that is going to continue to make you money even when you stop working, right? So it's making sure that you understand that enough money creates a buffer for you. Saving a large enough percentage of your income creates a buffer for you where now not only you'll have enough, but you have the potential to grow hopefully even further beyond what that actual need is.
Yeah, and I guess what kind of the whole show is about is we don't want to like completely fully write off all this advice, but we should really look at a lot of the like popular personal finance advice. It's mostly like slogans and signposts and not actual rules for you to follow. Like if they can actually get you thinking, that helps, but you can't rely on slogans to take care of you.
I think there's a place for everything. I think advice, general as it is, can help, but I think that once you have evaluated the general advice and taken what's useful for you, understanding and being able to discern when advice stops being helpful for your particular circumstance is really important as well. Because yes, it's easy to just kind of accept what's given to us on the regular, but it's not personal. And personal finance, just like the name of this show, is personal. It's about the stories that we have. It's about the things that we're trying to create and build for ourselves. It's about the retirement we want and the legacy that we want to leave for our kids and our families and our loved ones. It's about so much more than just pay off this debt, put this money into a savings plan. It's about the stories that we tell each other and ourselves throughout our lives. And managing money is a core reflection of you, your values, and who you are as a person. So if you're the kind of person that values making sure that you're secure in the future, making sure that your family is going to be okay, that's why you're listening to a show like this today, to educate yourself and to get yourself in the position where no matter what life throws our way, we've done the work to make sure that we're in the place that we need to be in to handle these things that are going to come. It's that great emergency fund, right? Financial planning is really that giant net that we put under our whole entire lives, because if we get knocked down, we need something there to catch us. So that's how we looked at a couple key concepts from popular authors that we love. We love listening to their work. We love listening to this advice, but it just sometimes needs a little bit of refinement. So if you'd like someone to help you refine to your own personal lifestyle, your own personal goals, and your own personal things that are important to you, find us at braunfinancial.com. Until next time, take care.
And all the best.